Why are taxes so high? Why do I have to pay so much in taxes? Pay money to the government. The government should be good stewards of that money. Why am I talking about all this? Because it all impacts taxes. It all impacts how much taxes you're having to pay. And one of the biggest complaints I have from all my clients is, why are taxes so high? All right, hello, everybody. Ignatius L. Jackson CPA here with another exciting video for you. Today we're talking about a little bit of a recap of the last 45 or so days of Trump's new presidency. We're going to go through a few things, including the joint video or joint session with Congress that he did yesterday. So this is being recorded the day after that whole event transpired. I got my Make America Healthy shirt on here today, or Make America Healthy Again shirt. So really excited about that. I think that's just kind of as a side note, right? It doesn't really pertain to taxes or finances per se, but I also like to talk a lot about financial independence, doing well with your financial journey, stuff like that. And one of the things that can really help you to be successful in your financial journey is health, right? Health of your children, health of yourselves, etc. So I just really like the ideal that RFK Jr. is all about trying to root out childhood illnesses, diseases, all the issues that's kind of wrong with children. Frankly, a lot of issues that are wrong with our current generations, all due to the fact that we have horrible substances in our food. And so if we root out those substances, I think a lot of us will feel a lot better, we'll be a lot more healthy, and things will just be better for the country as a whole. There's a reason why a lot of these products and food are banned in various foreign countries. And that's because they're not good for you. There's no nutrition, there's no benefit to it other than saving on cost. And I'm tired of the American people being taken advantage of by these companies just to save a dime and make more profits, and got to stop. So, anywho, that said, the last 45 days have been a whirlwind, as you can probably tell. Some of the key things that I did a solo separate video in New York, as you could probably tell from that video that I just posted the other day. Exciting news about the business owner information reports recently announced by the Treasury Administration that they are going to put the kibosh, kill it, it's dead, it's no more on business owner information reports for domestic entities, okay? Unless you have a foreign entity or you got sort of foreign ownership or something like that, then you should be fine going forward. We're still waiting on the final rules and everything about what that all means. But for the majority of small business owners out there, you no longer have to worry about the dumb, idiotic business owner information reporting that was creating a lot of concerns and havocs and all kind of issues with clients and small business owners at whole around the country. And so that now is gonzo. So if you can't get excited about that, I don't know what you're thinking about. Okay. I just believe, I don't believe that that was going to really do what it was intended to do, which is to catch money launderers. If you're committing crimes and laundering money, you're not going to fill out those reports anyways. You're going to find some other way around the rule, right? So all it really did was create a bunch of extra headaches for the 25 million or some odd, however many small businesses that are out there in the country. And it's just a real pain in the butt. So I'm glad it's gone. Okay. Additionally, at his address yesterday, he again reaffirmed that he's striving to get no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on Social Security. I'm sorry, I think I might have said that twice. Going off of memory here, so bear with me. Let me make sure I get the three right. No tax on overtime, no tax on tips, and no tax on Social Security. Pretty exciting stuff that, at least a couple of those I fully support. The no tax on tips and no tax on Social Security, I can get behind. Social Security, slam dunk, easy. I don't think it should ever have been taxed. I think it's bullcrap because you use after-tax dollars to contribute to Social Security, and you don't even get your full amount that you contribute to Social Security back usually. I just believe that that should be tax-free as far as I'm concerned. On the other hand, no tax on tips, I can kind of get on board with that one as long as it's limited to a certain subset of the population. So for example, your job classification is a server, hotel worker, golf cart caddy, those types of fields where your income's already pretty low anyways. I can get behind no taxes on tips. I'm okay with that. Treat it as a gift from one person to another person. Technically, it is for a service. I can see both sides of the argument there. I get it, right? I understand why it is taxed because everything else where you're getting paid for a service, you do pay taxes on it, whether it's a 1099 or as a W-2 employee. So I get it, but I can also see the logic of not taxing tips. Okay, so there's that. And then no tax on overtime. This one, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of. It's one of the things that he talked about that I don't really agree with. But, if you're going to do it, again, as long as it's on lower income people, there's some kind of threshold, there's some sort of barrier or, ways to narrow it down to the lower income people, then I can get behind it because these people are actually working for a living instead of being on welfare. And so I'm okay supporting those people, right? And I'm okay supporting people on welfare too, as long as they're not taking advantage of the system. I've seen some clips and videos and stuff of people recently, and I actually know some people, unfortunately, in my family and in my world that do the same thing. And they basically are sucking on the teat of the federal government for the rest of their whole life, basically 20, 30, 40, 50 years on welfare. And that's crazy. Like, I don't believe you should be able to just stay on welfare for your whole life and not do anything. So you should have to do work. You should have to contribute to society and and for the most part, take care of yourself. And then maybe we just supplement some things that you're maybe missing or something like that. But there's a lot of people who literally get everything taken care of, don't do a lick of work. That's got to change. I just believe that has to change. It's nowhere near the amount of waste that I think it's in our defense department, but it's still an item that I think we got to change for sure. And then speaking of waste, you got the Department of Government Efficiency who is out there just freaking taking an axe to a lot of different things, right? Yeah, I will admit that, they've sometimes probably hit the wrong nerve or did something that they probably shouldn't have did. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, but at the same time, I just believe that federal government has wasted so much of our money. We're at a $2.5 trillion deficit in terms of spending, 36 trillion on the way to $37 trillion of national debt for the federal government. I'm just at the point where it's like, we have to make a change. And the old way of politicians saying they're going to make a change on the campaign trail, oh yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And then they get into power and they do absolutely nothing, or they wait for Congress to act together and so nothing ever happens. That crap has to end, right? And so I'm kind of for the fact that the federal government is trying to root out this waste in whatever way they can. And of course, the other side, because we're so divided in this country, is fighting every which way they can to stop it from happening, which just baffles the hell out of me. I'm just gonna be, I don't understand it. If they're trying to root out waste, fraud, and abuse from the federal government and trying to get our budget under control to where we actually have a balanced budget, I don't understand why people are so against that. It makes zero sense to me. As a taxpayer, a lot of my clients are taxpayers, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes every year. You know, we're all ticked off. I mean, at some of the stuff that they're finding through this Department of Government Efficiency. And I'm not going to get into the whole Elon Musk crap and all that stuff. I mean, I don't really care who's doing it, honestly. I just think we need to root out the wasteful spending, any fraud, obviously, and any abuse that is being done with federal money. We need to root it all out and get rid of it. If we get rid of all that, we very well could already be at a balanced budget without having to raise any additional revenues or increase taxes or any of that kind of stuff, right? We could very well already be at a balanced budget if we just get rid of some of that waste that's out there. Don't get me wrong, it's all over the federal government. It's not just in entitlements. It's not just in this whole USAID crap. It's not in, DEI and all. I mean, these are all components of what's kind of leading to it, but it's all throughout the federal government. And people have known this for years and have just done nothing about it. The last president to have a balanced budget, actually had a surplus, was freaking Bill Clinton in his administration. That was the last president to actually have a surplus. Every president since has been in a deficit. That's crazy. We cannot continue to work that way. I mean, as a country, we've got to get this under control. And so I fully support what the Department of Government Efficiency is doing. Of course, they're going to try to fight it in court, and I'm hoping over time those court cases die. And hopefully they die quickly because we cannot let this continue to go about it. And I don't care what anyone says. Just because Congress appropriates money does not in any way, shape, or form mean that we have to spend it. That just means to appropriate it. It's available if we need it. That doesn't mean you have to go on a spending spree like Biden did at the end of between losing the election or Kamala losing the election to Trump taking office. They went on a freaking spending spree and spent billions of dollars. Ridiculous. Why? Just because you could? It makes no sense. I'm so sick of it. Our government needs to stop spending money, and I'm glad that they're doing what they can do. Why am I talking about all this? Because it all impacts taxes. It all impacts how much taxes you're having to pay. And one of the biggest complaints I have from all my clients is, why are taxes so high? Why do I have to pay so much in taxes? I say it as well. I don't understand it. Why are taxes so high? That's why I'm talking about this stuff because it's all tied together. Federal spending is the reason why we pay so much in taxes. State level expenses, I think a lot of people can get on board with, except maybe in California, New York, where the state tax rate, the highest rate's like 13, 15%. That's crazy. Hopefully they can change that soon. They need their own little government efficiency over there in California and New York. But most states are, 8% or lower roughly. So it's not that big of a deal for state taxes. But I mean, federal government, you top rate 36.9%. That's how you get up to the point where you might be paying half your income to the government. I mean, it's not exactly half, it's obviously a little bit lower than that, but you get my point. It's like you feel like it's all going away and you're not really keeping anything for yourself. So that's why we're talking about this. Not trying to be too political. It's really just common sense, if you ask me. I mean, it's like if we pay money to the government should be good stewards of that money, and they should take care of our money and make sure that it's spent wisely. Don't mind helping people, but make sure those people are helping themselves. We shouldn't be, just helping people for the sake of helping people. Immigration is a similar thing. Immigration has used a lot of funding, right? So should we be funding illegal immigration? I don't think so. There's a lot of people who don't think so. So it's just stuff like that. Like if we're funding stuff, it should be funding stuff for American citizens, not people who are trying to come to America. So, anywho, another thing that happened recently, which I love this too, by the way, Trump announced a gold card, okay, where his ideal is to charge $5 million to rich people who want to come into the United States and get a green card, basically. So instead of a green card, it's going to be called gold card. Now, this one, there's actually already a lot of, I shouldn't say a lot, but there are already people that are taking advantage of something similar. The difference is they just have to invest in the company. It's called the EB-5 program. All they have to do is invest in the country. They don't have to actually pay a fee to the country that they know they don't get back, right? It's like an interest fee, basically. So a tariff, in a sense, for someone who wants to come to the United States and be a permanent resident. It's just something that you pay. And so an entry fee or an entry tax, whatever you want to call it. Pretty genius, if you ask me. I don't know why anyone hasn't thought about this before, honestly. This should have already been a law in place. Because if you have, I don't know, 1 million people, let's see, what does that equate to? You got 1 million people that pay $5 million. That's $5 trillion. 1 million people paying $5 million is $5 trillion. 500,000 people, 2.5 trillion. We start to tackle that debt, right? We start to tackle down that debt right there. Okay. That's pretty genius to me. And are there 1 million people out there that are willing to do this? I don't know. Maybe. I think there's at least probably a few 100,000 people willing to do this. So it definitely would help tackle some of the debt. If that money goes directly towards paying down the debt, I'm all for that because these are going to be people who are creating jobs. So not only do they have to give the 5 million, but they also have to invest in the US, right? They're creating corporations, they're creating jobs, they're creating new income streams, which creates revenue, tax revenues, etc. Right? It's all full circle, right? Tariffs, another thing that's been a hot topic. Again, tariffs are a revenue generator for the US. Yes, they do increase price of goods temporarily anyways. Over time, due to a free market, in theory, those tariffs will not be a factor because you'll have companies come back to the US and invest in the US and make their stuff in the US and create jobs in the US, which helps to funnel and spur the economy, which, oh yeah, more income, more revenues to the government. So more taxes, more revenues to the government. It's not a bad idea on the surface. Got to see how some of the sausage is going to be made, right? I don't know, but I'm willing to take a chance on it. Here's my overall philosophy on a lot of this stuff that the Trump administration has done in the first 45 or so days. What we've been doing hasn't worked. Clearly, it hasn't worked. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. You cannot say what we have been doing has worked for the American people. It does not make sense that our country is $36 trillion in debt, over which probably a third of that, maybe somewhere between a third and a half, all happened in the last 5 years. That cannot be reality. Like we have massively inflated our national debt in the last about 5 or 6 years, ever since COVID, right? It's just been, whew. And don't get me wrong, some of that happened when Trump was in office, but it was supercharged when Biden took office. They passed a lot of additional spending that did not need to be spent. And that's what really got us into this massive $2.5 trillion deficit, which is just out of freaking control. So we've got to change it. It hasn't been working. So I'm okay giving a little bit of leeway, a little bit of grace to the current administration, giving them a little bit of time to try to get it all worked out. And I think in the end, we're all going to be happy. Like he said yesterday during his speech, there may be some temporary pains and some issues along the way, but the end result I think will be pretty phenomenal. As he says, maybe the golden age. I don't know. I don't get too much into a lot of the Trump rhetoric or whatever. I don't really care. What I care about is how much in taxes am I paying and how much in taxes are my clients having to pay. I'd love to be in a situation where I don't have to spend as much time trying to figure out ways to save money on taxes. I feel like if we can get our tax rates down to 10%, 15%, 20% even, most of my clients would be like, whatever, I don't care about trying to create some strategies to try to reduce my taxes. Who cares? I mean, 15%, 20%, who cares? So if we can get rid of a lot of the waste and everything that's out there to the point where we can reduce our taxes to a super low level, then I think a lot of people will be pretty happy about that. I could even see there's been ideas floated around about consumption tax. So you basically pay for taxes on goods that you're purchasing. I can see that too as being okay. I mean, because then everyone's got the same tax rate, right? It's just based off of how many goods you buy will determine how much in taxes you're paying because it's all based off of consumption. So if you're a huge consumer, you're going to pay a lot in taxes. If you are more of a saver and investor, then you may not pay as much in taxes. I could kind of see that making sense. Okay. So it'd probably be a combination. I don't think so. One of the things he talked about is getting rid of the tax code altogether, getting rid of income taxes altogether. I don't see that happening. I'll be honest. I don't think that's going to happen. Are we going to be able to get rid of taxes altogether? I don't think so. I just don't think it's realistic that we'll get rid of taxes altogether. However, I think it's very realistic that we can significantly reduce the amount of taxes that we're having to pay by having more jobs, having more people being productive in society, having more businesses, tariff income, these gold cards, all the above, right? I think there's a way that we can root out all the fraud, waste, and abuse as well. All the little pet projects, all the stuff that extra money that's being spent that doesn't need to be spent. If we can do all that and achieve all that, then we should be able to achieve some significant tax reductions at the very least, and tax savings in that regard. And I think people will be so happy. I know I will be. Those are some thoughts on what's been happening with the Trump administration for these first 45 days or so. So far, I mean, overall, I'm pretty happy about it. Are there some things that I, wish were done a little bit differently? Sure. But I think all in all, I think it's fine. So I'm pretty stoked about where I see the future of the country headed to, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, obviously I have a new background here. I moved into a new office, so I got a new background. So hopefully you guys like all the new stuff that you see in the background there. Still working on it. Probably going to be some additional changes here, but you can kind of see some of the stuff I got that I've just been collecting over the years. Obviously you can see a theme. I'm a huge ASU Sun Devil fan. Go Devils, right? Go Devils. But got a lot of other stuff back there too. So anyways, well, that's been another great video here from Ignatius CPA. I hope you stay strong on your financial journey and you do everything you can to reach that financial peace, whatever that means for you, and live the American dream. Peace.